Welcome to the second Glen Destruction Reviews. We're going to be taking a look at the Battle Damage City Hunter Predator. This was recently released and right now is available only at comic shops and smaller collectible shops. Right now, not at the Walmarts. This has been something that's been very sought after for me. It was released at Toys R Us a few years ago, and now it is out as a solo figure, and I'm thrilled to own it. So stay tuned. Just as I did last time, we're going to start this off with the box art of this action figure. The box art is nothing short of phenomenal, and it just continues to give and give and give. I want to say that this box art also kind of gives a little tease. I know it probably doesn't mean nothing, but it's still something though that I think about. The fact that we've got Danny Glover, or Detective Harrington as he was known in the movie, that something, I hope we're hinting towards something. It probably don't mean nothing. However, though I have kept my hopes up, Neca has had no problem doing a lot of human figures, you know, from say the Back to the Future line, Ninja Turtle lines, so why not give Danny Glover a little bit of love? On the side we have number 5, Ultimate Battle Damage City Hunter, reading Predator 2. 30th anniversary, keeping these all nicely uniformed, and the back just the various different shots of our Ultimate City Hunter with his severed hand. And then we have the rest in the line. If you have not seen this, just go ahead and take a look of what's to come. These were all previously released about 10 years ago, and now getting some more love. And then we have the little read-up. You can go ahead and pause and read that if you'd like. We're going to do this review in a few different parts, but first we're going to start off with the sculpt and the paint apps. I want to also mention, it as a little disclaimer, it is not exactly the same mold as the Ultimate City Hunter. It uses a few pieces, however, there's a few things that it uses from the older generation City Hunter, which I think are a little interesting. First thing I'll notice is they did go ahead and leave off the net gun, which I thought was kind of interesting. I figured they were going to go ahead and put that in there, just for the heck of it. NECA has a tendency to just repeat putting accessories in with these figures. That was not the case here. That kind of bummed me out, because a few years ago, I think it's either when I was moving or doing some photography, I lost my net gun, so I have no removable net guns for any of my City Hunters. We did see the return of the little peg. I've called for this. This is something that I hope is permanent. I don't know if it's just for this. I don't know. This one though, it seems to really be stuck in there. I don't know if it's supposed to come out, but that's something I've wanted back, because I always like to put the spears on the back, and I don't know why it's kind of just been forgotten on the Ultimate Lost Predators I've released. Our med kit does not remove. It appears to be actually sculpted to the armor. That was another interesting thing that I noted. Not something that I really wanted to take off. And then finally, if you will notice, it is missing its shoulder cannon. Now, one could say, oh, is this a flaw? Is this something that they forgot, you know? I don't believe it is. If you want to be honest, it's more true to what we saw on screen, because if you remember, he got shot up and he was kind of hiding from Detective Harrington, and at one point you see him just kind of rip it off, and he kind of goes without it for the rest of the movie. So it does its job there, and it does hold up. The paint apps on the actual body, some of the best netting actually of all my Predators I have. This is definitely way above even some of the recent Lost Predators they've released. I don't really see a lot of flaws with it, but I think that the fleshy color is really popping out a lot more. The brown and the coloration on him is just a lot more true to the actual movie versus what we had seen in some of the other City Hunters that I've released. But my favorite thing above all they did on this one is the fact that they dialed back a lot of that blue that's actually on the armor. Now, if you had the original Ultimate City Hunter, you will notice that it had some blue highlights. Here they're not nearly as strong, and it is not just a matter of the camera not picking up on it. I will bring in to picture, I will bring in the other Ultimate Lost Predators, so that way you will have an idea. But it was just a bit strong for my liking, in my opinion. And another thing that I will say is noticed that some people have said that apparently the blue highlights were there on the suit when they were shooting the movie, but just wasn't noticeable when you were actually watching the movie on screen, which is very possible, because a lot of the time there are things like that get lost in the movie while we're watching it. Blood stains everywhere from all the areas that he was all shot up, dripping. It's not a whole lot of variant in color. Just about, I see about 2 different colors. You your about your yellowish green, and then after that you have your darker Predator green. And there's, I don't think that, yes, okay, there is one on actually the back. This figure, it kind of rivals the movie Maniacs Predator from years ago, which was actually one of my very first Predators. I wish that I had it on me right now. If I did, I'd show it. So I want to go ahead and point something out if anybody is curious. Right here we have this little piece that's going all the way up to his mask, his rebreather mask. If you're wondering where this plugs in, there really isn't exactly a place for it to plug in. I like to have it just kind of like this, to where it's kind of just giving an illusion it's leading somewhere. But if you're somebody who has it and you're looking around and you're just trying to figure out where to plug it into, good luck, because you're probably not going to figure anything. It's just something you got to kind of use your imagination or just do what you can with it. Neca, they could have went ahead and sculpted it to something on the actual figure, but the problem is when you remove this actual head right here, it'd have to break, somewhere along the line. It wouldn't have worked if they had sculpted exactly to his arm or somewhere. So this does work for the best. Dreadlocks are a lot more free on this figure versus the usual, because of the fact that we do not have no shoulder cannon, as mentioned before. Without the shoulder cannon, that is just not restricting it. The City Hunter has never been as restricted in the Dreadlocks department as, say, the Jungle Hunter, which had that bigger shoulder cannon, versus the smaller one, which just kind of went up and down. The head, the patterns have definitely improved on it. This is definitely a far cry from where we were years ago. So when I bring the Series 4 City Hunter into play and kind of get a comparison, you'll get a look at the different heads that they have released on this figure through the years and a better understanding that they have improved. Not as many accessories as the usual for these action figures. Definitely pretty well has the basics. A few things missing, as I talked about. The net gun is not with this figure. But start things off though, we have two different variations of our spear. We have our collapsed version, and we have what is my best full-length spear. This is the best one I have in my entire collection. Two different discs. We have our open disc as it's flying, and then the closed one that belongs in the holster. Three different hands that we can use. One for grappling the disc. A few more that are just for like grabbing and holding items. Next we have our alternate head that comes with the City Hunter. This is the closed mandible variant, which is actually my favorite that they have released. Before they had the open mandible version. There's been a lot of improvements on this. I can say that this is definitely a far cry from where things were, and they have nailed everything as far as the little patterns, on the scale at least, of this Predator. Then we have the biomask for the City Hunter. This is just a biomask as it is. It's my favorite accessory, in fact, that was included, a brand new one. Its full interior is sculpted. I think that's really cool, even though we never saw the actual interior in the movie. To see Neca just use their imagination and just go ahead and add some detail into it. As opposed to a few years ago when we got the Ultimate Jungle Hunter, which was just nothing. And that was kind of disappointing. I'm surprised that they did not go ahead and re-release this figure. To my knowledge, they have not re-released this figure and done anything on the biomask. They just have left it as it is. The biomask by itself versus the biomask that was actually on the City Hunter. As you can tell, that there's a little indentation on kind of the snout part of the mask, and it is a lot smoother on the top, which would be the forehead section, versus this one, which has a lot going on there as far as the detail goes. I think I like this one more. I mean, it's hard for me to say. I mean, they're both nice, but I think this one just looks amazing. I wouldn't have no objection if they were to go ahead and say, re-release the City Hunter and use exactly this sculpt and put it on the helmet rather than the one that we got a few years ago. But remember, this figure that I got is about 4 years dated. 3 or 4, I think it came out in 2017. I could be wrong, so correct me on that, but it's definitely been out for a while since I got the original release. Okay, so we're going to do a few comparisons of at least two other City Hunters. So on the right we have the Ultimate City Hunter from I think 2017, and then we have the newer one that the review's about. They do have some striking differences right from the get-go. As you can tell, the newer one is definitely a lot darker in the paint apps versus the older one, which kind of used a nice combination of some browns, some fleshy color, some blacks, and this one just pretty well goes very heavy on the blacks. And it's very obvious, just all out, this figure, when you just kind of spin it around, and you can tell. Personally, this is the one I prefer more. This one had the blue, which I didn't really care for. I already explained that earlier when I talked about the paint apps. I also believe these use different molds because of the fact, if you notice, the cuts seem to be a little bit different on the body, and the armor was a bit more loose on this Predator versus this one, which is a bit more actually on the figure, and it doesn't move around that much. I believe if I wanted to, I could probably pry the other one off pretty easily. Then after that, we have the 2013 release. This came out as a Toys R Us exclusive back in the day. I remember there's a big uproar about that among collectors, and people were kind of complaining because it meant they had to get the mask one, you had to buy the Toys R Us 2-pack. And of course, you know, when you have exclusives like that, you have scalpers going around buying stuff, and people are willing to, at a point, pay the extra money just for something if they just wait, you know. There are some pretty drastic differences, but I do believe these ones pretty well share the same body. In fact, this is pretty well just a modified version where they actually made some cuts on it, and I think that this body actually looks better than the Ultimate version that they released a few years ago. Disclaimer, I don't have the original unmasked City Hunter anymore. I was looking through my collection and suddenly it dawned on me that I gave it away to a close friend of mine many years ago before the Ultimate came out, so I'm sorry that I mentioned that, but to be fair, this one pretty well just shares pretty well the same body as that one did, just minus the fact that it actually has a helmet on. Final notes for this review. If you're not big into collecting variants, the chances are this figure is going to have little appeal to you. I personally had to get it because of the fact I always thought it was a really cool variant, and it reminded me of my very first ever Todd McFarlane figure back in the day. So I'm glad that I have it and it found its way into my collection. I wasn't willing to pay the scalper prices, and the idea of waiting just paid off because I knew eventually we'd see it again down the road. Thank you for tuning into this review. Expect more to come. I'm sorry that I haven't exactly posted more reviews up. I've been a little busy working on a few different projects, and I can't wait to reveal something I've been working on that should be coming up soon. I've also been working on a idea of a Neca retrospect Godzilla figure review, where we'll just take a look at various Godzilla figures and see it from the start of the line all the way to the end. So this is something that I'm promising and that will be developed soon. So please bear with me. Once again, this has been Glid Destruction Reviews. You can check me out on Instagram. Please like, subscribe, follow. Thank you for watching, and keep collecting.